The mainstream medical establishment has a very depressing script for you once you cross 75. They tell you to slow down. They tell you that frailty and a shrinking world are just the inevitable costs of getting older. They hand you a pill organizer and expect you to quietly fade into the background. But what if I told you that the orthodox medical narrative about human aging is fundamentally flawed? What if I told you that the true hallmarks of exceptional aging are not about what you stop doing, but rather the deeply biological habits you fiercely maintain? I have spent decades mapping the biology of disease and longevity, and I have identified a definitive list of 6 things. If you are between the ages of 75 and 85 and you still do these 6 things, you are truly one of a kind. Your biological age is likely decades younger than your chronological age. But I need you to pay close attention because the number 1 item on this list is the most powerful cellular protector of all. Almost nobody in mainstream medicine talks about it, and you must stay with me until the very end to hear exactly what it is. Before we dive into the science, I want to know exactly who I am speaking to today. Go down into the comments right now and drop your current age and the one physical or mental barrier you want to shatter this year. Listen to me carefully. Mainstream medicine is perfectly fine with leaving you behind, gently managing your decline. Your health and your independence are on the line. I am bringing you this life-saving research absolutely for free because you deserve the truth. You owe it to yourself and your family to fight for your vitality. Subscribe to Healthy Living Code right now and hit the like button so I can keep bringing you the unvarnished medical truth. Do not let the system write you off. First thing that sets you completely apart from the crowd, if you are still doing it in your late 70s and 80s, is deliberately denying your body constant food. I am talking about the practice of time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting. The mainstream medical misconception here is truly pervasive and frankly quite damaging. Conventional nutritionists and doctors will tell anyone over the age of 70 to make sure they eat 3 square meals a day and keep snacks on hand to keep their blood sugar stable and prevent weight loss. They treat the older body as entirely fragile, requiring a constant drip feed of calories and glucose just to survive the day. It is an industry built on adding things to your routine, adding pills, adding supplements, and adding meals. But this constant feeding traps your biology in a permanent state of digestion and fat storage, completely shutting down your body's innate evolutionary repair mechanisms. The hard science tells a completely different, incredibly empowering story. When you give your digestive system a hard, intentional pause of 12 to 16 hours, a profound biological mechanism called autophagy takes over. Think of autophagy as a microscopic, highly trained cleanup crew inside your blood vessels and organs. According to extensive research, including landmark longevity and neurology studies out of Johns Hopkins University, metabolic switching triggered by fasting actively clears out senescent cells. We clinically refer to these as zombie cells. These are damaged, aging cells that refuse to naturally die. Instead, they linger in your tissues, secreting a toxic soup of inflammatory chemicals that rapidly accelerate the aging process and form the root cause of chronic diseases like Alzheimer's and cardiovascular decay. By simply not eating for a designated window, you flip an ancient genetic switch. You command your body to hunt down and consume these zombie cells for its own energy. Furthermore, fasting has been clinically proven to stimulate your bone marrow to release adult stem cells. These are your body's master builders. They travel through your bloodstream to repair your heart muscle, regenerate your gut lining, and build new neural pathways in your brain. You are quite literally rebuilding your organs from the inside out just by mastering the timing of your meals. If you are already doing this, you are experiencing cellular renewal that most doctors incorrectly believe is impossible at your age. If you are not, here is your exact practical prescription to start tonight. I want you to strategically compress your eating window. Finish your final bite of food by 7 in the evening. From that exact moment on, you consume nothing but water, unflavored sparkling water, or plain herbal tea. You will seamlessly sleep through the majority of your fast. Upon waking, do not immediately reach for the standard toast or cereal. Extend the fast until 9 or 10 in the morning. That gives you a solid 14 to 15 hours of profound, uninterrupted cellular cleanup. Let me tell you about a patient named Arthur. Arthur was 78 years old, living in Orlando, Florida, and he came to me complaining of crushing brain fog and deep, persistent joint stiffness that made him feel like he was moving through wet concrete every morning. His previous doctors had told him it was just standard arthritis and the inevitable result of aging, quickly prescribing him heavy anti-inflammatories and telling him to eat frequent, small meals to keep his energy up. We completely flipped the script. I took away the snacks and put Arthur on a strict 14-hour fasting window. Within just 3 weeks, Arthur called my clinic in tears of joy. The cognitive brain fog had completely lifted. His debilitating joint stiffness had dramatically reduced to a minor nuisance. He wasn't just managing his physical decline. He was reversing it, all because he stopped feeding the systemic inflammation and allowed his own biology to clear out the cellular debris that had been holding him hostage. To make this even more powerful, I want to give you a factual synergy tip. How you break that fast determines the true magnitude of your results. When you finally eat at 9 or 10 in the morning, absolutely do not break your fast with refined carbohydrates or sugar. Instead, break your fast with a handful of raw walnuts and a steaming cup of high-quality green tea. Walnuts are rich in a powerful polyphenol called ellagic acid, and green tea is loaded with the bioactive compound EGCG. When you introduce these specific verified bioactives immediately after a fast, they create a biological synergy with your newly released stem cells. They effectively multiply the regenerative capacity of those cells and direct them specifically to repair the endothelial lining of your blood vessels. You are seamlessly combining the deep cleanup of fasting with the precise nutrients your newly awakened stem cells require to build a younger, undeniably more resilient body. The second characteristic that places you in the top 1% of agers is that you actively and intentionally subject your body to physical resistance. I am not talking about a leisurely evening stroll. I am talking about lifting heavy things. The misconception surrounding exercise for those in their late 70s and 80s is nothing short of a medical tragedy. When you cross a certain age, well-meaning doctors and physical therapists immediately downgrade your physical expectations. They hand you 2-pound vinyl dumbbells, they point you toward the shallow end of the swimming pool, and they warn you not to strain your joints. They treat your skeletal system like spun glass. But this misguided abundance of caution accelerates the exact diseases they are trying to prevent. By coddling your muscles, mainstream advice actively accelerates sarcopenia, which is the deadly age-related wasting of muscle mass that leads directly to falls, shattered hips, and the permanent loss of your independence. The hard science of human physiology demands the exact opposite approach. Your skeletal muscle is not just there for movement. It is the largest endocrine organ in your entire body. When you lift a weight that genuinely challenges you, you are doing much more than building strength. According to extensive research on aging from institutions like Tufts University, challenging resistance training forces your bones to absorb calcium and lay down new, dense structural matrix, a biological principle known as Wolff's Law. Even more miraculously, when your muscles contract under heavy loads, they secrete powerful anti-aging proteins called myokines. One specific myokine, called irisin, directly crosses the blood-brain barrier. Once inside your brain, irisin acts like a fertilizer for your neurons, stimulating the growth of new brain cells and forming a chemical shield against Alzheimer's disease. By lifting heavy weights, you are literally prescribing yourself the most potent neuroprotective drug known to science. But you have to decide right now if you are going to accept the fragile narrative you have been handed or if you are going to fight back. Aging does not wait, and cellular decay does not take a day off. The medical establishment will gladly watch your world shrink to the size of your living room, but you absolutely have the power to reclaim your vitality today. You have a duty to yourself and to the people who love you to stay strong, stay sharp, and stay in the fight. I am here to guide you, but you must take the first step. Subscribe to Healthy Living Code right now. Hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the truth that could save your independence. You are worth this effort, so do not let the system make you weak. Your practical prescription is to abandon the useless 2-pound weights and start engaging in functional, progressive resistance training 3 times a week. You do not need a fancy gym membership. Start with a loaded farmer's carry. Grab 2 heavy grocery bags filled with water bottles and walk down your hallway until your grip is genuinely tired. Perform deep chair squats, standing up and sitting back down without using your hands, holding a heavy book against your chest. The weight must be heavy enough that your last 2 repetitions feel incredibly difficult. Let me tell you about a patient named Martha, an 81-year-old grandmother from Chicago. She came to my clinic using a walker, terrified of falling after her doctors told her she had the bones of a bird and should avoid all strenuous activity. We threw out that advice entirely. I put Martha on a strict A supervised program of modified deadlifts and heavy carries. Within 6 months, Martha completely discarded the walker. Her bone density scans showed a halting of her osteoporosis, and she was effortlessly carrying her own heavy groceries up a flight of stairs. She refused to be fragile, and her biology rewarded her. To multiply these incredible results, you must use a powerful synergy tip. Resistance training creates microscopic tears in the muscle, but the biological repair process requires a highly specific trigger. Exactly within 30 minutes of finishing your resistance exercise, consume a food rich in the amino acid leucine. 3 whole, pasture-raised eggs or a piece of wild-caught Alaskan salmon are perfect. Leucine acts as a molecular key that unlocks a biological pathway called mTOR. When you combine the mechanical tension of lifting heavy things with a targeted dose of leucine, you force the mTOR pathway to hyperaccelerate muscle protein synthesis. You are effectively tricking your older muscles into rebuilding themselves with the speed and efficiency of someone decades younger. The third biological habit that firmly places you in an elite category of aging is fiercely protecting and cultivating the living bacterial ecosystem inside your digestive tract. The mainstream medical misconception here is shockingly negligent, and it is happening in clinics all over the world. When you reach your late 70s, if you complain of mild indigestion, bloating, or irregular bowels, conventional doctors will almost reflexively put you on a lifetime prescription of daily laxatives and proton pump inhibitors, commonly known as antacids. They treat your digestive tract like aging, rusty plumbing that just needs to be shut down and managed with synthetic chemicals. Furthermore, they put older adults on bland, highly processed, sterile diets, which essentially starves the gut. This standard medical protocol is a direct daily assault on your microbiome. By sterilizing your digestive tract and artificially wiping out your stomach acid, mainstream medicine is systematically destroying the headquarters of your immune system. The hard science is absolutely undeniable. Your gut is not just a food processor. It is the command center for your systemic immunity and a primary driver of your cognitive health. Deep inside your lower intestine lives a vast colony of bacteria, and one specific, highly protective keystone strain is called Akkermansia muciniphila. Groundbreaking clinical trials from Stanford University have proven that maintaining high levels of diverse gut bacteria completely governs your systemic inflammation. When you feed these microbes properly, they ferment the food and produce short-chain fatty acids, specifically a biological miracle worker called butyrate. Butyrate repairs the microscopic lining of your gut, stopping dangerous toxins from leaking into your bloodstream. Even more incredibly, butyrate travels directly to your brain to shut down neuroinflammation at the cellular level. If you destroy this delicate ecosystem with chronic antacids and a sterile, highly processed diet, you open the floodgates to autoimmune conditions, chronic fatigue, and accelerated cognitive decline. If you have instinctively protected your gut, you possess a biological shield that most doctors completely ignore. If you have fallen into the antacid trap, here is your exact practical prescription to rebuild your gut tonight. You must actively repopulate your gut ecosystem every single day with living foods. I want you to consume exactly 1/2 cup of naturally fermented food daily. I am not talking about the pasteurized vinegar-soaked products in the middle aisles of the grocery store. You need raw, unpasteurized sauerkraut, authentic kimchi, or full-fat kefir found strictly in the refrigerated section. These are living foods teeming with thousands of diverse bacterial strains. If your gut is sensitive, introduce this very slowly. Start with just 1 tablespoon a day to let your biological system adapt, and over 2 weeks, work your way up to 1/2 cup. Let me share the story of a patient named John. John was a 79-year-old retired engineer living in Austin, Texas. He came to my clinic suffering from relentless, unexplained exhaustion and chronic skin rashes that his dermatologist could not solve. His medical chart showed he had been taking a daily prescription antacid for over a decade. His gut was a biological wasteland, unable to absorb nutrients or regulate his immune response. We worked closely to slowly taper him off the acid suppressors and introduced a strict daily protocol of raw sauerkraut and probiotic kefir. Within six weeks, John's biological transformation was astonishing. The chronic systemic rashes vanished completely. His energy levels surged so dramatically that he started playing 18 holes of golf again, completely walking the course. We didn't give him a new miracle drug. We simply restored the microscopic army inside him that the medical system had accidentally destroyed. To unlock the absolute maximum power of this habit, you must implement this scientifically accurate synergy tip. Swallowing good bacteria through fermented foods is only half the equation. You must actively feed those specific microbes so they can multiply and colonize. This requires a highly specific type of prebiotic fiber. Exactly when you eat your daily serving of fermented food, Pair it with a targeted prebiotic source like one whole skin-on kiwi fruit or a half cup of lightly steamed asparagus. The specific soluble fibers in these foods act as a specialized fertilizer for the probiotics. When the live bacteria from the fermented foods consume this specific fiber inside your colon, it triggers a massive explosive production of that healing butyrate we discussed. You are seamlessly combining the seeds and the fertilizer in one meal, creating an unstoppable fortress of immunity right in your digestive tract. The fourth biological standard that separates you from the deteriorating masses is your absolute refusal to let synthetic chemicals control your brain's architecture at night. I am talking about how you protect your deep sleep. The medical establishment's approach to sleep in your 70s and 80s is a chemical catastrophe. When you mention to your doctor that you are waking up at 3 in the morning, they instantly reach for their prescription pad and hand you heavy sedatives or synthetic sleeping pills. They tell you that fragmented sleep is just a normal, unavoidable part of getting older, and that these pharmaceuticals will safely help you rest. What they categorically fail to tell you is that these pills do not actually create sleep. They induce a dangerous state of chemical sedation. By relying on these prescriptions, mainstream medicine is systematically destroying the most critical regenerative phase of your sleep cycle, actively accelerating brain shrinkage and memory loss. Your brain does not simply turn off at night. It goes into a highly active, metabolically demanding state of neurological power washing. During the deepest phase of your rest, known as slow wave sleep, a miraculous biological mechanism called the glymphatic system opens up. Cerebrospinal fluid literally rushes through your brain tissue, washing away toxic beta amyloid plaques. These are the exact same proteins that accumulate and cause Alzheimer's disease. Clinical studies from institutions like the University of Rochester Medical Center have conclusively proven that synthetic sedatives completely bypass this slow wave phase. You are unconscious, but your brain is trapped, unable to clean itself. To trigger real, restorative sleep, you must manipulate your biology through your eyes, not a pill. Specialized receptors in your retinas contain a protein called melanopsin. When hit with natural, early morning photons of light, this protein sets a rigid biological timer in your brain that guarantees a massive natural release of sleep-inducing melatonin later that evening. But time is running out on your brain's health, and you need to understand the gravity of this situation. Every single night you rely on a synthetic pill to knock you out, you are allowing toxic plaques to build up in your memory centers. You are actively letting your future, your cherished memories, and the very essence of who you are slip away. The medical system will gladly let you fade into cognitive decline, comfortably sedated in a nursing home, but you have a profound duty to yourself and your loved ones to stay sharp. You must take control of your biological clock right now before those memories are gone forever. Subscribe to Healthy Living Code right now. Hit that subscribe button because your cognitive independence is hanging in the balance, and I am giving you the exact tools to save it. I want you to completely bypass the pharmacy. Your exact practical prescription starts the moment you wake up. Within 30 minutes of getting out of bed, you must step completely outside. You cannot do this looking through a glass window because modern glass blocks the specific wavelengths of light your brain requires to set its clock. You need to stand outside without sunglasses and let natural sunlight enter your eyes for exactly 15 to 20 minutes. Even if it is a heavily overcast day, the lux intensity of natural daylight is thousands of times stronger than your indoor lighting. By doing this, you are physically winding the biological clock that will naturally pull your brain down into that deep, life-saving, brainwashing sleep that night. Let me introduce you to a patient named Robert. Robert was an 82-year-old retired pilot from Denver, Colorado. He came to my clinic desperate, suffering from severe short-term memory lapses and terrified he was rapidly developing dementia. He had been taking strong prescription sleep aids every single night for 7 years, falsely believing they were helping him rest. We threw the pills in the garbage. It was a difficult transition for the first week, but I had Robert stand on his back porch every morning at sunrise for 20 minutes without fail. Within just 5 weeks, his wife called my office, absolutely stunned. Robert, sleeping deeply through the night naturally, but more importantly, his memory had sharpened dramatically. He was recalling names effortlessly, engaging in complex conversations, and had completely shed the mental fog that the medical establishment convinced him was permanent. To make this circadian rhythm reset absolutely unbreakable, you must pair your morning light exposure with a specific thermal trigger at night. Exactly 90 minutes before you want to fall asleep, take a hot 10-minute shower or bath, and then immediately step into a cool bedroom kept at exactly 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The rapid drop in your core body temperature creates a biological synergy with the melatonin you built up from the morning sunlight. This thermal drop acts as a physiological hammer, instantly driving your brain down into that critical slow-wave glymphatic washing cycle, ensuring you wake up with a younger, thoroughly regenerated brain. The fifth characteristic that proves you are biologically elite is how aggressively you defend a part of your body that mainstream medicine entirely ignores: your mouth. The misconception here is a massive systemic failure of modern healthcare. The medical establishment completely separates your mouth from the rest of your body. If you are in your late 70s and have receding, slightly bleeding gums, your primary care doctor will likely ignore it, and your dentist will tell you it is just the normal wear and tear of aging, casually handing you a bottle of harsh alcohol-based mouthwash. They treat your oral health as a purely cosmetic issue. But by treating your mouth as an isolated system and carpet bombing it with alcohol, they are blindly ignoring the literal gateway to your brain and your heart, actively accelerating your systemic decay. The hard science is absolutely terrifying if you are not paying attention, but incredibly empowering if you are. Your mouth is a highly vascularized ecosystem, meaning the microscopic blood vessels in your gums are a direct high-speed highway to your vital organs. Groundbreaking neurological research, specifically from the University of Louisville, has isolated a highly aggressive strain of oral bacteria called Porphyromonas gingivalis. When your gums bleed even a tiny bit, this specific bacteria enters your bloodstream, travels directly up to your brain, and actually crosses the blood-brain barrier. Once inside your brain tissue, it secretes highly destructive toxic enzymes called gingipains. These gingipains literally devour your brain cells and actively drive the formation of Alzheimer's disease. Furthermore, this same bacteria aggressively attacks the endothelial lining of your heart, with clinical data showing that severe periodontal disease increases your risk of a fatal cardiovascular event by up to 50%. Your cognitive and cardiac health are directly dictated by your oral microbiome. If you still have your natural teeth and a sharp mind, it is because you have intuitively protected this barrier. If you want to build this biological shield starting today, here is your exact practical prescription. First, you must immediately throw away all alcohol-based mouthwashes. They are indiscriminately destroying the beneficial bacteria that protect your gum tissue. Instead, every single morning, before you drink water or eat food, you must use a surgical-grade stainless steel tongue scraper. Scrape from the far back of the tongue to the front exactly 5 times to physically remove the biofilm. Then replace your toxic mouthwash with a therapeutic dose of xylitol. After brushing at night, swish 1 teaspoon of pure medicinal-grade xylitol dissolved in 2 ounces of water for exactly 60 seconds. Then spit it out. Xylitol is a natural compound that starves the toxic bacteria, completely preventing them from adhering to your gum tissue and entering your bloodstream. Let me tell you about a patient named Susan. Susan was a 76-year-old retired teacher from Phoenix, Arizona. She came to me extremely worried because her systemic inflammation markers, specifically her C-reactive protein, were dangerously high, and she was experiencing terrifying memory blips. Her doctors were preparing to put her on heavy immunosuppressants to manage the inflammation. I took one look at her dark, inflamed gums and stopped everything. We completely overhauled her oral microbiome. I put Susan on a strict protocol of morning tongue scraping and evening xylitol rinses. Within 8 weeks, her blood work was completely unrecognizable. Her C-reactive protein plummeted by over 60% into healthy, optimal ranges. The chronic systemic inflammation that was clouding her brain vanished, and her memory became razor sharp again. We did not use a single systemic drug. We simply closed the biological door to her brain. To make this biological shield absolutely impenetrable, you must use this scientifically verified synergy tip. Protecting the oral barrier requires intense cellular energy, specifically in the gum tissue itself. Every morning, take 100 milligrams of a high-quality coenzyme Q10 supplement alongside a source of healthy fat, like half an avocado or a spoonful of olive oil. CoQ10 is literally the spark plug for your cell's mitochondria, and clinical studies show periodontal tissue is notoriously deficient in it. When you combine the targeted bacterial clearing of xylitol with the profound mitochondrial power of CoQ10, the cellular matrix of your gum tissue physically tightens and heals. You are effectively sealing the gates, ensuring that neurotoxic bacteria can never board that blood highway to steal your memories. The sixth and final biological habit, and without question the absolute most powerful cellular protector on this entire list, is that you actively and aggressively regenerate your body's most critical infrastructure, your microscopic blood vessels. I am talking about your endothelial lining. The misconception here is the single biggest failure in modern cardiology. When you reach your late 70s and your blood pressure starts creeping up or your hands and feet feel constantly cold, conventional medicine tells you this is just the inevitable stiffening of your arteries. They put you on a cascading cocktail of beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, and statins. They tell you to cut back on salt and just accept that your cardiovascular system is wearing out. They treat your blood vessels like old, rigid, decaying lead pipes. But by merely artificially forcing the pressure down with synthetic drugs, mainstream medicine completely ignores the biological health of the pipe itself, actively allowing the inner lining of your vascular system to silently rot away. The hard science reveals a biological masterpiece that you have the power to control. The inner lining of every single blood vessel in your body is made of endothelial cells. These cells are responsible for producing a miraculous life-saving gas called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the ultimate cellular protector. It acts as a biological Teflon, making your blood vessels slippery so that dangerous plaque cannot attach, and it commands your arteries to expand and relax, perfectly regulating your blood pressure. Nobel Prize-winning research has demonstrated that by the time you reach 75, your natural nitric oxide production has plummeted by nearly 80%. This deficiency is the exact root cause of heart attacks, strokes, and vascular dementia. But clinical data from institutions like the Cleveland Clinic proves that you can completely reverse this deficiency and literally regrow healthy blood vessels by feeding those endothelial cells the exact molecular building blocks they are starving for. But I need you to stop and listen to me very carefully right now. A stroke or a massive heart attack does not politely knock on your door and ask for permission. It strikes in the middle of the night and it steals your life, your speech, and your total independence in a matter of seconds. Every day, you let the medical establishment just manage your decaying blood vessels with a pill while ignoring the root cause. You are playing Russian roulette with your life and the lives of the family members who will have to care for you. You have a profound duty to survive and thrive for the people who love you. You cannot afford to be passive anymore. Subscribe to Healthy Living Code right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell because your life literally depends on taking control of this science, and I absolutely refuse to let you fade away. If your mind is sharp and your heart is strong, it is because your nitric oxide levels are optimized. Here is your exact non-negotiable prescription to flood your body with this life-saving molecule today. You must consume a highly concentrated source of dietary nitrates every single day, exactly 2 hours before your most physically active part of the day. I want you to eat exactly 1 densely packed cup of raw arugula, or drink a 4-ounce shot of pure, unpasteurized beetroot juice. Your body takes these specific plant nitrates and uses the good bacteria on the back of your tongue, which we saved in the last chapter, to physically manufacture pure nitric oxide gas. This forces your blood vessels to instantly dilate and flush your vital organs, especially your brain and heart, with heavily oxygenated blood. Let me tell you about a patient named Richard. Richard was an 80-year-old former firefighter living in New York. He came to me with dangerously high blood pressure that was completely unresponsive to 3 different heavy medications. His hands were perpetually ice cold, and he was terrified of having a stroke. Just like his father did at the exact same age, his cardiologist told him he was simply out of options. We completely bypassed the pharmacy. I put Richard on a rigid daily protocol of highly concentrated dietary nitrates using raw arugula and beet extracts. Within just 4 weeks, Richard's transformation was biologically staggering. His blood pressure plummeted into perfectly normal, healthy ranges. The color and warmth completely returned to his hands, and his severe brain fog lifted. We didn't add another synthetic pill. We just gave his failing blood vessels the exact raw materials they needed to heal themselves. To make this endothelial repair absolutely explosive, you must implement this final synergy tip. Dietary nitrates require a highly acidic environment to properly convert into nitric oxide in your digestive tract. Exactly when you consume your arugula or beet juice, you must combine it with a heavy dose of natural vitamin C. Squeeze the juice of 1 entire fresh lemon directly over the greens or into the beet juice. The ascorbic acid in the lemon juice acts as a chemical catalyst, perfectly synergizing with the plant nitrates. This specific combination legally hacks your biochemistry, multiplying the nitric oxide yield by up to 300%. You are literally turning your own body into an unstoppable anti-aging pharmacy. The medical establishment has sold you a lie. They have told you that aging is a passive, inevitable slide into frailty, and that your only option is to politely manage your decline with a daily handful of synthetic pills. But as we have explored today, the hard science says something entirely different. Your biology is not permanently broken. It is simply waiting for the right instructions. When you compress your eating window to trigger deep cellular cleanup, when you lift heavy weights to physically shield your brain, when you purposefully rebuild your gut and oral microbiomes, when you align your sleep with the sun, and when you forcefully dilate your blood vessels with targeted plant nutrients, you are no longer just aging. You are actively regenerating. You have total control over this biological process, and it starts right now, today. Your health is absolutely not a lost cause. Your body desperately wants to heal, it wants to remain strong, and it wants to keep you fully independent. I need you to remember that you are profoundly worth this effort. The years ahead of you should not be spent managing decay from a sterile waiting room. They should be spent living powerfully with absolute clarity and purpose. You owe it to yourself and to the people who love you to claim that vitality. If you are ready to reject the fragile narrative and take permanent control of your health, I need you to subscribe to Healthy Living Code right now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a breakthrough. Finally, I want you to make a commitment. Go down to the comments right now and tell me, which of these 6 biological habits are you going to implement into your life starting tonight? Write it down, claim your health, and let this community hold you accountable. You have the ultimate power to change your trajectory.